We're on time.
We are on time. So if anybody wants to join us on Zoom, I did put the link there, but I will just post it again to be sure. Okay. Well, we can start, can't we, Andrea?
Yes. I actually like coming here to talk to you, even if it's only you, Adina, sometimes. I love talking to you.
Me too.
It's
Talking
so
with you is no
interesting.
problem. It's good we're not by ourselves. That will be a very interesting challenge.
Um, I really enjoy Wednesdays, and I'm looking forward to them because it's this subject is so dear to me and so important, and it affected my life for so long, and it still affects my life. Before coming in, I was talking with Adina, and I've had, I think, the worst 3 days at work since the beginning of the week. And I'm going to share that with you while we are waiting for some more people to join. On Monday, I had some meetings to discuss new things that are happening. A project I really don't want to. I really don't think it's necessary. It will negatively impact the work we're doing, but I have no say in it. So it's just imposed. So I'm guessing this is something you're all familiar with it. When something just comes and you deal with it. And no matter what you personally think, and professionally, not personally, because you know it's not my company, it's the company. uh, no matter what reservation you have, it's the work I've been doing for 6 years now, uh, almost 6 years. It doesn't matter because that's the way things must be. And
Well, there
it's
was a
it's
change for you there, Andrea, no? Just to give some background. There was a change in management, I think.
there was a change in management. There were a lot of changes in the
Structure.
company. They want to change the structure of the work because they want to put everybody on a billboard, even though the work I'm doing does not fit there. And it's not my opinion, it's the opinion of everybody who's doing the work. But they have a project and they have funds allocated to it, so they have some deliverables, and somehow we are included in that, my team. So then the tool, the system I'm working with, starting giving errors because of this project, people have started changing things, and nobody bothered to inform me or the members of my team. And we just, where is this coming from? This is not working. What's going on? Total chaos and confusion. And then because it didn't work on Tuesday, we had to do again the things we had to do on Monday because we needed to update everything in the background. So I had a meeting. I wrote a lot of comments. Tuesday was a miserable drive. It was raining like crazy. It was like, I don't want to wake up. I'm tired. I'm going and go, and what am I going to do? Or the project I don't like. So basically, my mood was really, really down. And I was driving like it, busy motorway. And I was looking at the rain and said, need to change something. What's going on with me? I'm not functioning okay. No, no, for some people, rain could be romantic. Let's look at it differently. Let's change perspective a little bit. And it was actually beautiful. So it was a bit of mist, and the drive is quite nice, even busy because we're going on at a snail's pace with the hills and the last blooms, pink blooms along the motorway, houses in the distance, uh, rain falling. So it was like a postcard almost. So like, look, for some people it could be a postcard. And then I said, this is what I wanted. When I was growing up and I was going to school, I was looking forward to go to work. So this is my dream. Not anymore, but this is what I wanted. So this is a fulfillment of all that I wanted for so long. I should be grateful for it. How does gratitude feel in my body? Where is it? Hidden in one place. And look at those people around me. They are doing the same way things I am. So I'm driving, probably thinking miserable weather. I arrived of the office, all people were like that. Just hello, good morning, how are you? Well, I had a miserable time, but I'm thinking that rain could be romantic, and I want to change perspective today. That was interesting. And then very busy day, a lot of things I didn't like to do, but I did them anyway. So I put them on a list, and I started with the one I least liked, and tried to make the best of it. What was good about it, the conversations I have with my teammates. We agreed on what we will talk about. We agreed we'll have a management meeting today regarding this project. We agreed we separated tasks. And today, the third day, management meeting, when everything I talked about was ignored. No matter what I said, it was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we want that. Yeah, we want that too, but it's not, it doesn't matter. We'll make it work. So that feeling that you are completely useless and that the tasks you are doing are pointless and the passion you are putting in your work to do things right, to talk to the clients, to all that is useless. There's no feedback. There's a blank wall inside, in front of you, and the feeling inside me was disappointment. And the passion you are putting in your work.
Sorry.
Disappointment. And that question was why am I struggling? Why am I? And that was a trigger for me, because today we'll talk about triggers. That attitude was very triggering for me. And like I had this creature behind me, so like stop it. I am very passionate. I like this work. I'm doing it with pleasure. I've been involving myself, my time, my resources in doing this and building this, and you are ignoring it. I hate it. Of course, I didn't say anything, but I could feel it. So it was very interesting how we position ourselves in this world of things we don't like, things we are forced to do. Then I said, you know what? Me being here and me having this conversation, what's the benefit for me? Well, I chose this job. I went to the interview. I knew the conditions. I get paid.
That helps.
So what are the benefits? And if I remember the benefits, because in the moment I look at the bad things, like the rain, the rain, But if you look at the benefits, it changes a little bit. And then I became calmer. It was interesting. I saw myself from outside, just, fists, just going to attack a manager because I didn't like what she was saying. I was like, okay, breathe. That's fine. If they want us to do this, we will do it. And then how many times have I fixed something that I knew it was wrong and I did it anyway? In my 20 plus years of working in this business. Countless times.
Quite common when you have a new manager. They are trying their way before they are listening to what happened until now. I had a similar experience. I remember there was somebody promoted on top of me. He didn't do that job before. And he said, I'm going to listen to see how things are done. I said, oh, that's amazing. At least everything we tried, it's taken in consideration. And then 1 or 2 days later, we're going to do this way. I say, why? Because I say so. I said, it doesn't work with me. So if you go with because you say so, no, it's a waste of time. And if you're trying your way, it's not going to work. And imposing your point of view just because you're one grade above me, it doesn't impress me in any way. And I think if this is your best argument, please find another one. But it was so patronizing, the fact that they didn't even consider everything we've tried. It's like, oh, we didn't try anything until then. And they come with all these lovely solutions. So I was like, so I imagine it's the frustration was similar. And I think the tricky part is how do you stay in your space, isn't it?
How do you get back to it? Because you cannot help feeling the frustration. Being
Of course.
the model employee that says, okay, everything is not me. If you really, not even if you really hate your job, doesn't work. Because in what you're doing, there is you. There is your time, your energy, and it shows. So if you are a little bit into it, you cannot help but feel frustration and disappointment and anger and all those things that are not good for you. And you actually feel them in your body. And if you can get away from it, so just breathe and step like you were noticing yourself from outside, you wouldn't like yourself very much in those moments. And it's, why am I? But it's a reality. This is how you feel, and you need to validate that to yourself. Triggers, what triggers you means there is some work to be done there. And it's not present, it's not now. These are years of the same thing happening over and over, same pointless discussions, same pointless arguments, and the same people with, small people with big power saying because I say so.
Yeah,
And
and if it
again,
doesn't trigger you, you're sorted, right? So I think that's the way to know how you overcome the trigger is the same thing that was triggering you before is not triggering you now. But uh, triggers are kind of, I would say, normal. It's just the question we have for you today, anybody who is watching now or watching the recording, is how do you know you're triggered? Because somebody says something like what happened to Andrea or to me or to anybody, or it's a colleague coming, or it's for me, it was my mom today, for example, who triggered me and I start crying because we're in a special situation where we have to live together. I have to take care of her, and it's going on for weeks and weeks, and it's a lot of tension, and it's not my normal habitat, so it's not easy, especially emotional. And I just say, look, I just can't at this moment do it anymore. It's too much. I just need a place where I can recharge, and I just need to have my own meltdown, which I didn't have for months because I'm taking care of everybody else who has. Uh, and then I went back. I didn't go into the argument, and I went back. I went to another room. Luckily, we have enough, around 4. I cried. I stay with it, and I said, "What's happening?" I said, "It's too much." Okay, it's fine. I cried and asked myself what happened. Relax a little. And then I went back and I said, okay, look, Mom, this was me on my weak time, which I think it's normal. We're all human. And, I can have my own. And he said, yeah, I'm actually upset because I'm not able to do what I was able to do before. And I know it's a lot for you. So it was even a misunderstanding in the way I was triggered. But I went from another space. I didn't stay in that. I didn't went into argument because I realized it's no point. And when you meet emotion with emotion in general, it's good to take a break and take a space. And you cannot go with the mental there. And that's what I learned, especially with triggers. If you go from, oh, what's the problem? Why are you upset? It's normal. You're upset. It's fine.
it doesn't matter. Once you're upset,
No.
it doesn't matter why, because that's the trigger. The trigger is like, it comes from, the origin of the world is guns. Who pulls the gun, right? So once you pull the trigger, there is no going back. So you cannot, once the feeling is there, you need to deal with the feeling, and then it goes back into the past and digs into all those other times you felt the same way and people ignored you. And if you're not careful, it could create an avalanche. And it's, you think, whoa, this moment, the moment when I, clench my fists and I'm going all out, it's so important. Once you got back to your baseline and you're calmer, like Adina said, release through crying, through other things, through other practices. Millions of moments like this throughout your life. But in the moment is the most important thing, to lash out. And you feel it. It's everywhere in your body. It's physical.
And how are we educated? Contain yourself. Don't lash out. Play nice. We're taught exactly the opposite, right?
And don't say what you're feeling, because it's not okay to talk about your feelings, especially in work. And especially because in work, if you say something, you need to justify why you say it. That's the,
Yeah, and
the
it can be
behind it.
used against you. You're too
Yeah.
emotional or too. And I know I had episodes like this with people in teams in different companies where maybe I was too emotional. No, you're just human. It's fine. I am human also. Everybody. It's just the fact that you're in a certain position or you're giving an authority doesn't mean you don't have feelings anymore or you need to behave. And I think it's such a big misconception that you need to behave like I don't know, like an inhuman or need to be all the time cool, which again goes, everybody needs to play this role because we're all following the leader and we're all cool, but nobody's happy and nobody talks about emotion, and inside everybody's frustrated. So let's see about the triggers. We did prepare a lovely presentation. Well, just some slides
Need to
because
let
we
me
don't
share,
want.
please.
And again, I forgot. But what do you think, Andrea? This time, am I in the middle of the screen or not? No, I'm not.
No, you're
I'm
not.
never in the middle. Look at it. However I put she's always telling me after. However I put the screen and everything, the camera, the whatever, I never sit in the middle.
So triggers. If you remember, we last week we talked about the context of burnout. We talked about baseline, about saying no, and why is it important to know your baseline and to know you're saying, when you're saying no, to know your no and your yes, and that yes and no should come from a place of calm and quiet and power, rather than a place of bad feelings. I've been watching Lie to Me. I don't know if you've seen the series, but I watched it 10 years ago and I recently rediscovered it. And it's very nice. So it's a guy who reads faces to see if people are lying or telling the truth.
With
And
micro
one very important,
expressions.
yes,
Micro
micro
expressions.
expression.
So it's like a
And one,
small thing you do.
yeah, which we all
Sorry.
do. And it's across race. It doesn't matter the
Yeah.
race, gender, age, we're all doing it. They're universal. And one very important thing he needs to establish before learning whether a person says or not the truth is establishing a baseline. Meaning, this is how they look when they tell the truth. So he can know when they're telling a lie. And why do they need that baseline? Because it's the ground, the background against which they compare. In science, it would be like the control group or something. So we cannot talk about burnout without knowing where are we when we're not in burnout. Burnout is a crisis. So when we go there, we're lying, basically. Our bodies are not optimum. So we need to find out our baseline to know where we're up against, to know if we need to come back to that. And we always need to come back to that. Same with saying no. Okay? Your yes and no are here in the baseline, not here when everything gets distorted. Because you don't know. in a crisis, if I'm angry, once I'm angry, I don't care anymore. It could be that, and that's the importance of triggers as well. Once you're in that state, your strong, uncomfortable emotional reaction to a stimulus, everything else is gone.
You can't control yourself anymore.
Yes. So you can go in a lot of states, and all of them are not your baseline. All of them are off the baseline. If on a scale from 0 to 10, your baseline is 5, when you get triggered, you are around 8 or above, 7, 8, and above. And it could go from, from 5 to 7. You say it's not a big thing. In reality, what happens in the fourth dimension we keep telling about, your thoughts, emotion, sensation, actions, is like, miles of motorway. Because in our body, reactions happens really, really fast.
It's like a roller coaster. Roller coaster. When I remember now in Trenton Garden or others, where you go and you're just going at 0 or just some miles or kilometers, and then suddenly, boom, and it's this rush which you either get scared, either you get happy. You never know if those people on roller coaster are happy or scared. But I think the trigger is kind of the same. It's like you press a button and then boom, you just can't control. And that's why we want to talk today about, to give you some tools and some ideas on how you can control that. But first, let's talk about the lovely brains.
We have three brains. Do you know that? It's called the triune brain. It's a very fancy way of saying we have actually 3 different layers in the brain, which developed in millions of years, by the way. So the first one, the oldest one, that is linked to our survival, and it's also linked to our autonomous reactions, that is breathing, heart beating. All the things that happen in our bodies to make us function, is the reptilian brain. It's very old, and you cannot control it because it's linked to survival. So when that is awoken, all the sensations and all the actions are almost immediate. You've heard maybe stories of mothers stopping cars to save their children in that particular moment because all the systems were on. It lasts very little because all the resources of the body go there to ensure survival. People who escape like amazing, terrifying situation like a miracle. That's because something they said set them on fire. Like, whoa! And all this is in the reptilian brain. The other one, which is newer, on top of the reptilian brain, is the limbic brain, and that's where emotions are. And that's where we use words like sympathetic and parasympathetic, where sympathetic means action, when you're mobilized to do something, and parasympathetic means relaxation. So the aim is to get into parasympathetic, to get back to the baseline. And we are practicing TRE, which is tension trauma release exercises. It's a somatic therapy that teaches our body how to activate the parasympathetic system to go into relaxation. It activates a tremor, which is the natural release mechanism of stress from the body. It's absolutely normal, it's natural. All mammals have it. And you get back to baseline. You activate the parasympathetic system. And the third one, and the newest one, is the neocortex, where our intellect resides, or reasoning power. And the order says so much about us being able to use our intellect in moments of stress. So this is something we all have, whether we acknowledge it or not, or whether we know it or not. This is how we react. And triggers go to the reptilian brain.
Yeah, it's the survival,
And
isn't it?
yes. And it could be something like loud noises. It's automatic. Uh, I got very scared. For instance, I was walking down the street, and behind the fence, there was this big black dog who started barking at me. And I just saw a black shadow, a bark. And 1 second later, I was on the other side of the road, far, and my heart was pounding. So it's the same reaction as being chased by the lion. My heart kept pounding 3 days after that. My system were full on, so I was scared for 3 days. I couldn't sleep. That's how scared I was. And the reflexes, the automatic, we call them reflexes, they're automatic reactions, are fight, flight, freeze. And of course, a couple of new ones is fawn and faint. You all know, you've heard so many people talking about fight, flight, freeze. Can we elaborate a little bit on that, Adina?
On the phone? Yes, fight, flight, freeze. I think you all know, but we're going to focus today on phone. But before fight, it's, I don't know, somebody's shouting at you and you feel like slapping him or something like that. I think it's mostly characterized by applicable to men, I would say, not to women. I don't think we have this reflection. Flight, it's you run away, and I think there are a lot of cases where you should run away. And freeze, you don't know what to do. So you just stay. And I think most of us are quite familiar with this feeling when somebody comes or shout at you, especially at work, and you just don't know how to react. You cannot fight, you cannot run away, so you just freeze. And I think, especially as children, where uh, parents are telling of kids who cannot go anywhere else, one of the feeling is this freeze and dissociate. You kind of go away from that. You don't want to feel the feeling because you don't have even developed the neocortex when you're very small. And then you stay into this freeze feeling, or you dissociate, or you go somewhere else in your happy world. And some of these triggers are installed when you're small. And then when you're older, you realize that you get annoyed when somebody in the queue doesn't stay in line, or I don't know, that doesn't do something you like, and you snap out. And it's just because when you were small, you didn't process one of these triggers correctly. You didn't have the capacity. Now, the phone, which I love because I never knew it existed, this type of trigger, until I think 2 years ago, to be honest. And I learned about it when I learned TRE, this trauma release exercise that Andrea was saying, which we're qualified in it. Is quite amazing because it's relaxing all the nervous system. It's just you're coming back to your baseline through a very nice way, natural tremor of your body. But this phone, what does it mean in work? And I think for me, it's the way when you don't fight, you don't fly, you don't freeze, but you kind of need to say what they want you to say, so you kind of obey and say, okay, we'll have to do like this. But it's still a trigger. It's not something you feel in your body you're okay with. I don't have any examples now. Do you have any example, Andrea?
Well,
Much clearer.
let's
I keep
in
thinking
the
and I'm like,
in the natural world, all this are similar to animals, right? So fight, flight, freeze in reaction to, I don't know, a lion chasing a gazelle. That's, so normal reactions. Fawn is with animals when the little dog meets the big bad dog, and they sense the difference in power, and they turn their belly. This is in the natural world, in the
in
animal world.
obedience, right? So they
Yes.
recognize the power
So
and it's in
they
obedience.
Yeah, they recognize authority and say, if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. And it's the same in work. You can some people are very careful not to upset anybody. They sense of having a higher status than them, higher authority. So you know those people who are, yes, yes, whatever you say, sir, yes, sir. And I can see the bow. I can see the, when kings are there, you have to bow, which is, that's the distance, the authority, the hierarchy. And it can be very subtle. And everybody says it's a habit. It's a something they do. Well, this phone makes us think twice because this is something they've learned to do, and this is something that their nervous system tells them to do if they feel threatened. So if they feel that person has some power over them, they will react like this. And it could be you get a new project and you get directives. And I don't know how you would react, but I would check. Okay. Well, this is what I have to do. I would organize myself. I would say the order. I would say, this is what I can do. If this is what I can't do, I would ask questions if I had some questions to ask. So I would check first. Because, okay,
You would
let's see
check
what we
now,
have to do.
but that's
Yeah,
like a reaction where you're organized, you're not getting into this phone, right? So first you will check,
no,
but I
that's
think
not. Yeah,
most of the people, and I think this is very important, what relationship you have with authority and what means authority for you. Because I realized initially years ago I was associating authority with rank. Whatever position was that person in, I was considering if it's a higher up than me, automatically smarter, knows better, and all that. And then in time, you realize not every manager is a good manager, not everybody in a position of authority is right. So you start to trust yourself and to reply. But especially in the beginning and in a job where your manager says something and you say, oh, if I say something back, maybe they are going to fire me. Maybe they are not going to give me the bonus I was expecting, or they are not going to promote me. And I think that's where this phone comes so easily. And with the examples we have here, when somebody else gets a bonus and you don't, or when the manager gets the bonus and you don't, although you did all the work, or when the manager takes, it happens so many times, you have to do all the hard work and they take the knowledge and they put their name on top of the work. Oh my God, this is something I really hated in some of the companies I've seen. And you don't have what to do because if you go against and you explain, then it'll say, oh yeah, but it's a work together and all that. Or another teamwork who keeps asking. I like Andrea, when we were thinking about the example, he said 4 times. For me, my maximum was somewhere around 4 or 5. I think the 5th time explaining the same thing over and over because it's exactly the same. And you try different ways of explaining the same thing to somebody and they still don't get it. Although they say they are listening to you, you get to a point where you get frustrated, but you are, that's how I feel it. You're in this situation, you cannot run, you have to stay there, you have to train, you have to obey whatever rule was imposed from the company. You have to go with a procedure that it doesn't make any sense because that's why you're there. So
yeah, and phone is a little bit like, yes, those people above me have authority and power, but they're not always right. And phoning means you say, yes, they're right because they're there. So this not checking, not questioning, is automatic. Before you do anything else, that's the important part of triggers. They're automatic. So once you think, you check, and you decide they know better, is different, right? That can it's personality, his choice is something else. But once somebody says something is right, whatever that is, somebody in a position of authority says this is how it is should be, and you say yes automatically without going through your own filter, that's phoning.
Yes.
So let's make
Yeah.
this it's a bit misunderstood because people who are always saying yes, 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 but at a certain point that's a choice because they know and they do whatever it takes to make it that
It's
way,
also
and
cultural, Andrea, isn't it? If you
it's
think
cultural
about
as
some
well.
cultural
Yeah,
where you cannot even ask somebody who is in a higher position than you cannot even say, oh, is that right? It's just you're automatically suppose. And I think the tricky part culturally is if you question, you're afraid the person will perceive that you doubt their knowledge. And then it comes to personal skills. How do you ask? You can always check up. Am I right in what I'm understanding here?
yeah, yeah, true.
Maybe I'm not getting it right. Maybe it's something. So I know a lot of people are afraid of questioning authority. But guess what? From my experience, people do make mistake and it's very nice, like you have one of the thing unbutton your shirt or something, or you have some makeup left on your face. It's very nice somebody to tell you, oh, you forgot something. Oh my God, it's so nice you told me, because nobody dares to say that. And I think it's the same with some of the rules that are given to people, or some of the things that are imposed. Maybe sometimes it's good to be the one in the room asking. If it doesn't make sense, of course, first check with yourself. But if it doesn't make sense for you, feel something doesn't make sense, something it's not thought through, just be careful of the way you're not automatically saying yes and question it. Maybe, am I understanding right? This is what you're saying. Maybe if we do this, this will happen. Okay. Most of the time, people are not going to do what you said, but sometimes you'll be surprised. And then, interesting enough, it's building your self-belief, your self-confidence, and you can have an open dialogue. And especially when other people want an open dialogue. Now, I know there are not all the meetings like that where they want to listen, but if a project is going completely wrong because somebody didn't check something, or they just didn't have anybody to check, just be the one in the room, raise their hand and say, nothing can happen. Nobody's firing you for a question, at least from my
And yeah, and
experience.
I've had I was working on business strategies, and we were supposed to do some maps uh, to map the processes we were working on in order to improve them. And we shared the maps, we shared the knowledge, we shared the tasks, and we were given some instructions. And I had one colleague who said, and the instructions, blah, blah, there's A, B, C, D. Do you get it? Yes. Do you have questions? No. And so he did something with that. And at the end, it was nothing like like the task. It was the result was appalling. So he had to work 3 times. And the second time also he did the task. It's automatic, this phoning. Why? Because and it's very tricky. You think you understand, and you also don't want to question, because questioning means you're stupid, means you didn't understand. And it's cultural, but it's also from the family, and it's also from school. We get that a lot in school, and that we take with us. It becomes a trigger when it is used too much, and it past the unconscious phase. You get annoyed because I look at your face, right, and I see you're blank, right? See, do you understand? Yes. I said, okay, tell me what you understood. And then the trigger is, what do you mean? And that's the anger coming. And you get from phone, that's the trigger. I'm not stupid. And you fight, or you withdraw and say, what do you mean? It's very, so what does it take to notice this? Observation. We said it before, and we'll keep on saying it. Everybody says there is no stupid questions. In reality, before you get into the habit of asking questions, you think asking questions means you don't know, means you're stupid. I got that a lot in school. And I saw some of my colleagues who never raised their hands to ask questions again. Because some person of authority, teacher, said, sit down and shut up. With that tone of voice, with that energy, and that cuts you off. If you have a parent who does that at home, a teacher who does that at school, a minister who says that in church, a first manager who does that to your first job, you're set for life to get triggered by that. And trigger does not only mean fight, anger. Could mean sadness as well. So the, fight, flight, freeze, these are the automatic ones, but they're also when it triggers tears. Or when you see some people, when they hear raised voices, they go inwards. So they shoulders curl and they adopt the turtle position and they withdraw. You see the neck is coming into their shoulders and they head down. They withdraw. That's normal. That's their way of taking that on.
We
And
all
what
have a
we
way,
want,
don't we?
yeah, we all do. And we can change it depending on circumstances. You know, it's not universal. It's not one size
Set in
fits all.
stone. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
different for everybody, and it's usually something from childhood. It's the way you reacted first time to being told off. It can be parent, it can be grandmother, it can be school. It can be somebody that you perceive as a child in a position of authority, and you didn't even have the uh, mental apparatus to process what was happening. You just reacted. But once you observe this reaction, I think this is where you're starting to win something. And one of the things that it's discovered by science is that this reaction, it's last, that what's happening in your body, for me, it's usually kind of annoyed and blushing. What happens in your body, how your body reacts, or this cramp that you feel in your stomach or in your solar plex. We all feel something. This lasts only 90 seconds, the chemical that are released in your body. After that, whatever you do after this 90 seconds, it's the story you tell yourself. It's you reviving, prolonging, extending the emotion. The emotion is gone. It was felt by your body. The toxins and everything were released in your body. Reliving it and still thinking, look what he said, look what he said, because we all have this horrible habit, well, some of, after we have the fight, we go somewhere else. Okay, if you release it, it's fine. But if you relive it, because your body doesn't know, are you again in that? Or you're just talking about that? Usually it doesn't know the difference. You're reliving it and then you're recreating and you're recreating and you keep recreating. And some people start to have these thoughts, this feeling, this emotion, they start with sensation, then they go into emotion, then they go into feelings, and then guess what? It becomes a part of your behavior. When this happened, this person did this to me long time ago, and because that person did whatever they did, I become like this. So I'm entitled to be upset if something like this happened. And I think it's very sad. So what we will invite all of you, it's after trying to count till 90, count to 100 at least. And see if you can control, see if you cannot react there, because that's the thing. If you don't react in order to create another emotion, that's another 90 seconds to go into this emotional loop. That's one of the things that you can learn with meditation, you can learn with breathing. You can do box breathing. We talked before about this. You can just have a big, deep breath, maybe 3, and then, exhale. But do something for these 2 minutes, 1.5 to 2 minutes. Do something to try to, especially, I think the hardest thing is in meetings. When something is happening and you start to feeling all this, to have this feeling inside your body and you don't know what to do. Maybe don't reply in that moment. Maybe if there is a possibility, get out of the room. but try not to stay in that emotion, not more than 90 seconds, and try to process it. The body needs to process it. That's the other thing. Not processing and ignoring it. That's another thing. That's not good if you don't have any way of releasing it after. Ignoring, or how it was for me, exactly as I was saying in the beginning, not crying when I felt like crying. It would have made me feel even worse, and I would have gone into a fighting match, which how would have it have helped the situation? I have no clue. Maybe it will help me to feel entitled that I have this emotion, and I feel sometimes people create all this anger just as a way to release things because they don't know how to process, but it doesn't help. It helps to process it, but in a healthy way. Do you
This is
have
what
other
we want to
example,
learn.
Andrea, of some healthy way?
No, this is what we want to learn. What we are 80% water. Water has memory. Every emotion, every circumstance that we go through gets stored within the body, within our cells. And when we use this when we get triggered, we become like a bomb eventually if we don't release it. So there is some way it goes out. We can do it with awareness or unconsciously. That's the choice we need to make. Because why do we keep so much talking so much about awareness and about observing yourself? Because those 90 seconds don't do anything. But the next steps, and if we take them in order, are identify the emotion, identify the sensation in your body, or first the sensation and then the emotion in whatever order it fits you, because sometimes it could be both. Validating it means I tell myself, yes, I am angry. Yes, I am afraid. So that automatically produces a release, a breath, a sigh, a yawn. And then withdrawing from the situation and say, okay, I don't know what to do. I am in this feeling right now. I named it. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to park it for now. I'm in the middle of the meeting, so I'm afraid. I'm going to shout in the middle of the meeting, or I'm angry. I'm explode in the middle of the meeting. Park it for now. Breathe, stay with it, and then go back and see whatever I can do. There are practices, like Adina said, box breathing, washing hands, very important. Touching yourself. There's havening, there is EFT, so things with the body to get out from that. TRE, other somatic practices. A short walk outside. Writing an angry letter and then deleting it. You're very, very angry. You don't know what to do with it. You are in the middle of the crowd. You don't, you cannot act in the middle of the office, but you can write. Better with the hand writing than on the computer, but both can help. And then deleting it. So write with your a letter with your hand. Damn it, I am upset. He did. He died. Boom, boom. And then tear it apart and throw it in the garbage. You will be surprised at how your feelings go with it because you put them on paper. And the handwriting, by the way, it's directly linked to subconscious. That's why we are forced to learn handwriting in school, because through writing we learn things faster. And we have another one, my favorite, which I absolutely love. It's called gibberish. Have you ever heard of gibberish? Dina hates
Well,
it.
I did because I had to, but it's her favorite, so I will let her demonstrate.
We can both do it because it's something we both need. What is gibberish? Nonsense speak, child babbling. What gibberish does is interrupting whatever it is you're feeling, thinking right now. You cannot do gibberish and then think and feel at the same time. And it's so nonsensical that sometimes you laugh. You hear yourself doing that, babbling like a child, nonsensical speak, and you start laughing. And then whatever it is there gets released. Yoga laughter is based on the same principle, although you laugh, right, instead of doing gibberish.
Forcefully. Initially, it's
yeah,
forcefully.
yeah. So you don't talking to yourself in the mirror, reflecting. You need so taking that feeling out, looking at whatever you're feeling, even if you don't. I am confused right now. I don't know what I'm feeling, but I'm feeling something. Let's see what we can do with it. We don't ignore it. Say, I am okay. I'm fine. What are you? How are you? You see that person red in the face, face scratch up, and say, okay. And that comes in the body as a lie, and there is a chemical reaction to that. And then we're going to finish with gibberish, but before we finish, the end point, the most devastating thing that can happen if we get triggered and we don't address it, it could be a shock and it could go trauma with a capital T, it's PTSD. When people get stuck and relive the same trauma, the same shock over, and it's such a huge trigger, they cannot get out of it. So their nervous system and all their lives are trapped into that moment. That's why we call it the corporate jungle. Shock and trauma happens only with people in the front lines, in the army, guns, dying, and so on and so forth. That's not exactly true, because the body does not know the difference whether you're in the jungle, actual jungle, or in the corporate jungle. Only the name jungle sends us there. So we already, our nervous system is, where is the lion? We chase for lions in the corporate world. Not lions, they're sharks. I don't know how they're called. Okay? So triggers are, why triggers and burnout? What's the connection? A system that is triggered over and over without release gets charged, and you actually become a bomb, a walking bomb. There are some people that if you do this, they explode. If you have children, you're very tired, small children, you're very tired, you're not sleeping, baby crying, and so on and so forth, you know that the smallest noise drives you nuts. That means your system is so overloaded. You're very close to getting into burnout. It's overwhelming burnout. You're in the red. You're on the baseline. You're above 8. Have I missed anything, Adina?
No, I think the only thing I was thinking is this trauma with the big T and small t. What is the difference? I think because we're all traumatized, and I know there is a big conversation about what does it mean to be traumatized. I think it became kind of a fashion to talk about how traumatized we are all, and that's not the point that we're making here. Micro trauma, or trauma with the small t, there are small things that can happen, and you are impacted in a way. But it's something that you can manage by yourself, and you can become aware of that, and it can happen in different conversation, and you realize that's it. Big trauma, what Andrea was explaining, it's you are so impacted, especially from when you're a kid in general, but also when you're older, and I don't know, you lose your house or something. It's something like it's really you're left out, or you are fired from a job that was so important, and you need to change, and not only the company, you actually need to move the city, for example. That's a big thing because you cannot find it. That means it's not only you, it's impacting your spouse, your partner, your kids. So it's a big thing. And you're asking yourself after so many years where I dedicated everything and then they just got rid of me, and then it comes back to your self-worth. And then you're so scared of that whatever first job you found, you just stay there. That can be a big trauma, and that has to be processed in another way. And I think it's good to know the difference and also to ask, we didn't talk about this, but especially for PTSD or something very, very big, you need to ask for specialized help. There are people and there are a lot of methods. First of all, to talk about it, I think it's important. A lot of people are ashamed and they don't know. And then there are a lot of somatic therapies to process it. People don't process it. They stay with that and then they get diseases and other things happen. So there are a lot of ways to talk about triggers. Are I think we should kind of thank the triggers for today at least. They are showing you something it's not processed there, something it's wrong, something it's not fine. You need to look at it, look at the emotion, look at the feeling, look at the fear, feel it. It's, as Andrea said, not in the meeting, go outside, preferably. Park it and do it after. But feel it, don't leave it, because next time it will come higher. It will come with different intensity. It won't let you until you feel it. All these emotions needs to be felt, and they are telling us something. It's the way our body, this emotional guiding system, it's our body telling us, look at me, look here. Look, it's this book of, I was talking with somebody the other day, this book that Osho wrote, when the feet don't hurt, something, I'm sorry if I'm not saying exactly the title, but the point is you keep ignoring your legs and your feet all the time because they just work. You wake up, you go, you do your business and everything. But guess what? When the shoes don't fit, that's the question. When you have some, the title, when you have some shoes that are too small, and it's too tight and you get blisters and then you cannot walk and then you have another problem because you have to be careful. Usually it's happening in the summer with the wrong shoes because it's too hot and all that. Guess what? Guess to what you pay attention and buy all the creams and everything? To your legs. But we ignore them until then. And I think, and that, it's not that I think, I know the body is doing the same with the emotion and the sensation. And I think the triggers, and we have to thank to the triggers, are showing you what not to ignore and to look at. And not everybody is getting triggered by everything, which means we all have our own, and it's a mirror. Oops, let's see what we need to solve now. So we hope it helped, and I'll let Andrea demonstrate the gibberish. I'm not promising I'll do it with her. Still, I'm having fun
So
with it.
before we do gibberish, because we're gonna leave you with gibberish as a tool to try to test. Do it when it doesn't count. Do it when you're having fun. Do it so next time you get triggered, you remember to use it. And it might seem silly, but it's very useful. Trust me. We are building a course on burnout. All these talks we are having uh, help us see where you are, what's important to you. And we are putting a toolkit together to deal with things like that. If you want to know more, ask us. We will give you all the details. This is not exactly the space where we'll talk about it in detail. We will do other things to go there. But make sure that all your input when you're filling out that form and all your participation here in the Zoom session and online on Facebook is taken into consideration, and we are very grateful for your participation because it helps us tailor the course to your needs because we're very different and one size does not fit all. What I like, what fits me, for Adina, for instance, not. Gibberish is one perfect example.
Well, exactly. Gibberish is not. And also, as Andrea says, thank you for all the answer. We're going to come to each individual with the answer we have, with the solution we have. We hope they help, but they are not ignored. So we are looking at them. We're just making sure we're making time to respond properly. I think to respond in the way we would like people to respond to us when we had this question. So please continue to give us feedback in any way you want, comments or emails or whatever, or just approach us if you want to talk with us. We're very open to talk about anything, and we're very curious because this course we're building and this community we're building, it's to help people. It's not for us only to talk. We do love talking, as you can see always. It's no problem if we have 10, 100 or not, the two of us, we talk. have a lot of material.
Because it's important, and these are lessons we learned on ourselves. So it's not like we woke up one morning and said, I'm going to talk about triggers today. No,
No.
actually, I was actually thinking, we talk about triggers on Wednesday, and I had the most triggering days starting on Monday. So I was very triggered that I had to remind myself. I practice a lot of things, so I notice myself a lot, and the space I'm in, I notice very fast. But still, it's an effort to go back to my baseline. And at a certain point, I was like, what's the point? And the point was, do I want to have a good day or a bad day? If I want to have a good day, and it is a decision there, I'm going to stay in the trigger and in the bad emotion and everything. And the more I stay in the trigger, not in the trigger, in the emotion afterwards, in the story afterwards, not in the 90 seconds, the more it will pile up. And I will probably get headaches because I know myself. Or something would happen with my stomach, which I'm sure happens to a lot of you. So that was, and the more triggered you are, the faster you will get triggered. The more you'll get triggered, the faster you get triggered, and it's cumulative, and it's like a snowballing, basically.
Compounding.
And that's how you get into burnout. So, gibberish. Drum roll. I'm gonna breathe and
Come on.
Don't laugh. You see, try to stay serious doing this, because sometimes after I do this, I laugh at myself. You do it now. Come on.
That's the maximum. I
So,
can't do it. It's part of an Osho meditation, and we have to do it. I think it's easier, to be honest, if you do it in a group, because we all look like idiots. But here Andrea doesn't have a problem. For me, it's I just, yeah, yoga laughter is easier for me because I can force myself to laugh. But with gibberish, please try it in your own comfort.
yes, yes. You can do it in front of
Enjoy
a
it.
mirror. I look at myself. I look ridiculous. I sound ridiculous, and at the same time, this is me being ridiculous. Is the only thing I can think about. I don't think about what happened today. So test it. Let us know how it works. It's so simple and so deep. We're gonna leave you with that. We loved it today as well. We're gonna share this. I think we're gonna share this more than usual because there were only two of us. So we're gonna post it in different places. Hoped it helped. See you next week where we talk about boundaries.
I think so. Yes, we will talk about how to create boundaries and why is it important
Very,
to have
very important.
boundaries.
Yeah.
And we're again in relation with burnout, but it's helpful for anything because it's not only, first of all, do you know if you have boundaries? If you don't, how do you create them? And we're going to give you ideas. And then how you communicate them, and then how you make sure they are respected. And what do you do when they are crossed, your boundaries? That's a good question.
So
And we were
big
talking
topic.
boundaries in general and boundaries work-life balance. Yeah. So it's a big topic. So we look forward to seeing you there. Or if not, we're going to send you the recording.
Recording.
So I'm going to
See you
stop the
next week.
recording and see you next week.
Bye.